Gold has just reached the psychological $2,000 barrier, and silver is now back over $23 an ounce. Why is this? People are scared. We'll talk about it and so much more as we explore. Your market update here for this Friday, the third week that we have been anticipating a ground incursion into Gaza. Well, for all practical purposes, it has begun in small incursions there. Not a full-scale invasion yet, at least as I record this video, but who knows? By the time you watch it, they could already be in place, and it could have started. Nonetheless, it's making people nervous. I'm going to be reporting to you from an article here from FX Street that gives us some insights and some of the geopolitical risks that we're dealing with now. It broke the $2,000 a troy ounce barrier, not just in the futures market, but the actual spot price. In fact, as I record this video moments before the markets close, gold is up $20.20. That's a 1% uptick for gold at $2,005 an ounce. In fact, it almost got to $2,010 earlier in the day. Silver is up over 1.1%, up a full quarter, $23.12. It got up to $23.18 for the high today. In fact, gold has really risen fairly dramatically as it got as low as $1,976.50. Rhodium is actually up $100 today, but platinum and palladium are both down slightly. So it's pretty amazing to see. And of course, this kind of activity, we know that everybody is just nervous about the latest news that's going on in the Middle East. If you enjoy videos like this where I cover the news and how it relates to precious metals, I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel, as I find that over half of my viewers are not subscribers. So if you could subscribe, that would be great, and press that thumbs up button as well. Click the notification bell so that you can be apprised of the latest video that makes its way across your device, because the world is going to continue to spin, and there's a lot of things going on in the world, and many events can affect the precious metals price. But a lot of that is shaped in part by the media. And the media, as we know, certainly does drive the narrative for a lot of different things out there. Unless you think for yourself, and I encourage you to do that with anything, including what you hear on this channel. Because technically, even though I'm a small channel, believe it or not, I guess I'm part of the media to some extent, right? All of us here that are supposedly influencers here. But what I want to do is bring you the latest information and to give you the soundest advice that I can regarding precious metals. I love gold and silver, and I think that they provide an excellent way to preserve your wealth and to protect yourself, because they have no agenda themselves. It's just the people that talk about them that usually do. I do not want to be one of those people that have an agenda other than just to report to you and to provide my opinion about precious metals, only so as to benefit you. That's my purpose here. So gold price broke above that $2,000 a troy ounce barrier. And by the way, it did do that in the futures market, as I reported to recently, but this is for spot price. This is amidst increasing geopolitical risk, as the conflict between Israel and Hamas is at the risk of spreading towards more countries in the region. And of course, the latest news on that is that we have seen proxies in Iran attack U.S. troop and bases in Syria and in Iraq. There has been now response from the U.S. Upon those, with striking out some of the launch points and there, and that has actually concerned Russia as the latest. So this potential this thing could widen. Some people fear it could lead to World War III. We'll see here a hot war in World War III. But an escalation in the Middle East conflict keeps investors on their toes. They're scared, understandably so. Israel expanding ground operations in Gaza shifted market sentiment. According to the Financial Times, Israel Air Force launched an intense bombardment that knocked out the enclave's telecommunications systems. There is A spokesman for Israel's military said that in recent hours we have intensified attacks on Gaza. The Air Force is widely attacking subterranean targets and terror targets in a significant fashion. Some people think that Gaza's largest hospital is on top of a terrorist home base for Hamas. And so that makes it much more complicated. As we shall see. Now, the reaction, gold is moving up upon that news. Geopolitical uncertainty is what's ruling the day here, and that is what's driving these markets. But before we get into what the dollar is doing and how it's reacting, first let's talk a little bit about what we can expect next week. Because investors are nervous heading into next week as far as what the Fed is going to do. Well, most of the price is baked in with regards to that, because the Fed Watch tool, you've heard me talk about the CME Fed Watch tool, they see nearly 100% chance that the Federal Reserve will leave interest rates unchanged between 5.25% and 5.5%. At the same time, the Federal Reserve is expected to maintain restrictive monetary policies for the foreseeable future. But the thing is what is a restrictive monetary policy? That's where they're stop printing money and maybe taking a few dollars in. I say that because compared to how much the M2 money supply is, there's a lot of these dollars floating around. A lot of them floating around. And I think that's what's contributing to inflation at this point. They're not pulling enough of them back in. And I guess in a sense they don't need to, according to some of the numbers for the GDP and employment figures, which, by the way, I think in part are somewhat kind of rigged. And I think that they're kind of in part kind of just showing what they want you to see to keep everybody feeling good about the economy, mainly for political reasons, in my view. Now, that's my opinion. Which is why I refer to them as the chefs at the Cook the Books Club. They're cooking the books to make you think everything is hunky-dory. Press the number, type in hunky-dory down in the comments section if you think that's what they're trying to do as well, too. Hunky-dory. All right, yes, indeed. Is everything hunky-dory? It is not. That's right, we know that's not the case. And analysts note, according to this article here from Kitco, that despite a new lingering effects, the Federal Reserve's monetary policies are having less of an impact on gold as geopolitical uncertainty and debt concerns support safe haven demand for the near term. The bullish outlook for gold comes as prices look to end the week in a relatively neutral territory, but they're up today fairly strong. And for sure, gold's ability to hold its recent gains comes as a 10-year bond yields remain within striking distance of 5%. And the U.S. dollar index holds solid support above 106 points. So let's actually go and look at the dollar index, because the dollar index certainly is something that is going to have a fairly dramatic impact on gold and silver prices. But it is not, because the dollar index is only down very slightly. It's still at 106.55. Folks, the dollar is strong. What does that mean when the dollar is strong? For those of you who have been around long enough, you know that I like to explain what the difference between the dollar strength is and the dollar's value. The dollar is a losing proposition by design by the Federal Reserve since its inaction, or since it was established in December of 1913. The dollar is definitely in decline. But that rate of inflation, the Federal Reserve likes to see it at 2%. That's their targeted rate of inflation. But inflation, it still is. No question about that. It still is inflation. And now inflation is out of their control. In other words, out of what they would like it to be. So they're trying to rein it in by pulling back the money supply or stop printing as much money. But make no mistake, they are at a battle with Congress and with the government, because the government wants to spend more money. They keep sending more money to Ukraine, and now we're going to be sending money to Israel and other places. We spend a lot of money overseas, but we also spend a lot of money domestically too. Money that we don't have, hence why we're seeing record deficits and record debt. $33.56 trillion. I haven't even checked it lately, but it's climbing at a dramatic pace, folks. And the dollar is a losing proposition. But the strength of it, though, is very much in play and something that should be considered and understood, that the strength of it is in its relation to other currencies around the world. And right now, the dollar is the cleanest of the dirty shirts in the laundry pile. So in other words, if you're going to pick a shirt, you're going to want to get the one that has less stains on it. But stains it does have, and it's getting dirtier by the day. But it's an acceptable amount of dirt on the dollar or on the shirt, and this is in my analogy, that people are willing to say, okay, well, it's the best thing, so there you have it. But what is better than a paper currency or a cotton linen fiber currency, as is the case with this? Well, it's gold and silver. They've proven themselves time and time again, and in times of uncertainty and fear, people flock to gold and silver. Now, you should not be buying gold and silver out of fear. In fact, this is probably a good time not to buy when the prices are up like this, because more than likely, as I'll talk about in a future video coming very soon, is typically when there's a big spike in gold and silver. And by the way, today was not a big spike compared to yesterday, but we are seeing them climb up out of this concern. Well, they tend to consolidate and normalize in due course, even if we are in that course. It has two wars happening in the world at the same time, Ukraine and Israel. Because once the normalcy of it sets in, or the certainty of it sets in, well, there's no more geopolitical uncertainty. It is certain. The war in Ukraine is geopolitical certainty. It's still war. War is hell, and it's unfortunate, but it is still happening, but it is contained in that area. And there's not much threat that that's going to expand out, at least not right now. There certainly is more fear of it than there has been before the invasion began, but nonetheless, there's where we sit with it. So there is your market report for gold and silver. Pretty amazing day as we head into the weekend. I want to remind you that every Sunday night I do a market watch. It is the only channel in this space, or I think on the entire platform here, that actually does a market watch that watches gold and silver prices as they open up in Asia on Sunday night. We see some exciting things at that time. Other times it can be very, very boring. I have a feeling that this Sunday night very well could, just as has the last two Sunday nights, be fairly exciting. So I hope you will join me for that. And I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for watching this video, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.